Life, especially childhood, is meant to be a collection of bright, beautiful moments. But sometimes those bright, beautiful moments collide with unimaginable tragedy. Sometimes the simple promise of a fun autumn weekend is brutally shattered. In October of 2019, Hailey McMullen and her family attended the annual Deerfield Township Harvest Festival. It was supposed to be laughter, cotton candy, and the thrill of the carnival rides. They had no idea that one of those rides would rip the heart out of a family and shock a community to its core. This is the story of Hailey McMullen, the vibrant life she lived, the terrifying circumstances behind her demise, and the battle for answers that followed. Because a life like hers deserved so much more than a silent, forgotten ending. Join me as we head into the Cellar. Hailey Lynn McMullen was born in Vineland, New Jersey on January 28, 2009, to parents Christopher McMullen, a sergeant with the Salem Police Department, and Amanda McMullen, a nurse. Friends and family of Hailey described her as the most beautiful little girl inside and out. She was known for her kindness and affection, always hugging and expressing her love to everyone she met. Hailey enjoyed nature, animals, and water, viewing the world as one big exciting adventure. She was extremely creative, loved making videos and art, and had a vivid imagination and intelligence. She was also a loving sister to her older brother, Evan, and younger sister, Allison. In 2019, at 10 years of age, Hailey began 5th grade at Deerfield Township Elementary School. Deerfield Township is a mostly rural community located in Cumberland County, in the southern part of New Jersey. The area offers the roughly 3,100 residents a strong rural feel and tight-knit community atmosphere. According to Hailey's classmates, Hailey was a smart, funny, and kind-hearted girl who always appeared to be happy. Her happy-go-lucky nature was infectious, and people plain and simply just loved to be in her presence. Outside of school, during her downtime, she enjoyed sleepovers with friends and training jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is a martial art with Japanese origins that primarily focuses on grappling and ground fighting. It is known as the gentle art because its core philosophy is to use an opponent's energy, strength, and momentum against them rather than confronting it with sheer brute force. At 10 years old, Hailey had so much life left ahead of her. See, Hailey had big dreams and aspirations. She wanted to become not only a veterinarian, but she also wanted to be a famous YouTube content creator. With some backstory out of the way, we will now jump ahead in the story to October 12, 2019. Hailey and her extremely close-knit family made their way to the 41st annual Deerfield Township Harvest Festival. The festival was a long-running traditional community celebration that combined the area's agricultural heritage with modern family entertainment. The festival was held outdoors on the grounds of the Rosenhain Fire Company and Frank Lobiondo Senior Recreation Park in Rosenhain within Deerfield Township. Like many community festivals, this one included various attractions such as amusement rides and games, food vendors, arts and crafts, a community display, fireworks, and a festival parade. For 40 years, the festival had been a place of fun and celebration for the many families that attended. Little did anyone know, though, at the time, this 41st year was going to bring the entire festival to a screeching halt. Now, for this year's festival, Skelly's Amusements was hired to provide the rides for the event. Skelly's Amusements first began as a family tradition in 1956, when the founder, Joseph Skelly's father, bought a truck-mounted merry-go-round. The company would only grow from there, eventually setting up shop in Williamstown, New Jersey. The 25-ride operation acts as a traveling show, primarily serving fairs, carnivals, and festivals in a radius that covers South Jersey, northern Delaware, and southeastern Pennsylvania. As Hailey and her family began walking around and checking out the numerous rides and attractions, one ride in particular stuck out to her. That ride was the Xtreme Sizzler. The Sizzler is a variation of a type of ride often called a scrambler or twister. Its mechanics involve two simultaneous rotational movements. The central rotation has the entire ride platform and its central hub rotate in one direction, while the spindle rotation has three large support arms or spindles that are attached to the central hub. Each spindle has a cluster of small passenger cars, usually 4, attached to it, and these spindles rotate in the opposite direction. One will typically go clockwise, while the other goes counterclockwise. The combination of these two opposing spins creates an intense effect for the riders, as the force pushes riders outward, creating a sensation of being tossed or scrambled inside the car. Hailey was raring to go as she turned to her parents and asked to go on the Xtreme Sizzler. At around 6 p.m. that evening, Hailey boarded the ride. It soon began, and all seemed fine for the first minute or so, but that would all change in an instant. In her seat, 10-year-old Hailey began getting tossed around wildly. The boy sitting next to her watched as she began to slip underneath the ride's safety bar. He reached out and grabbed onto Hailey's left thigh as Hailey clung to the safety bar with both hands. Hailey didn't stand a chance as she hung on for dear life. Soon, the momentum of the ride forced her grip on the bar to come loose. The young boy watched in horror as she slipped from his grasp. As Hailey fell, the ride continued on, and the carts continued spinning, striking Hailey at least 3 times, forcing her into the floor below. Hailey would lose consciousness as the ride operator hit the emergency stop and paramedics were called to the scene.
Hi, we're at the Rosy Line thing, and the girl just fell out of the ride. I don't know if there's paramedics here, but there's just a bunch of people, and she's not moving.
Okay, where is this at, ma'am?
Oh, they know. They said they know. We're at Rosenheim, the county fair.
What happened?
A girl fell out of the ride, and she got smacked by the ride, and there's the police here.
Okay, is this at the Harvest Festival?
Yes.
Okay, and where is she located at?
She's still on the ride, in the very back of the ride.
Okay, she fell off the ride, or she...
She was ejected from the ride. I don't know. I just saw she was up in her seat and over the rail. That's all that I saw. I didn't think she stood up or if momentum took her. I don't know.
Hailey was airlifted from the scene and taken to the Cooper University Hospital in Camden, New Jersey. There, doctors did all they could for the bright young girl, but her injuries were too severe. She had suffered catastrophic head and brain trauma and would pass away later that night. With a young life lost in such a violent way, her parents were soon demanding answers. An investigation into what went wrong would be underway swiftly. The results found that Hailey did in fact meet the height requirement for the ride, but just barely. I found it reported in one location that her placement on the ride had not been handled correctly. Given her size, she should have been placed in a different seat. Outside of that, no issues were found with the ride itself. According to inspection records, the ride was in full compliance during its prior annual inspection in April of 2019. A concession manager for Skelly's Amusements also stated that inspectors checked every lap bar on the ride after the incident and had not found anything deficient with the restraint system. It was also noted that the ride did not have any kind of seatbelt restraint. In the mid-2000s, ejections occurred from similar Sizzler model rides across the country, and this resulted in seatbelts being mandated in the states of California and Florida. Wisdom Rides would then issue a service bulletin in August of 2007 that recommended the installation of seatbelts and even offered a seatbelt retrofit kit to owners. However, the manufacturer's suggestion remained a recommendation, not a mandatory recall or requirement. So unless a state mandated the retrofit, operators could legally continue to run the ride using only the lap bar. Following the investigation, Hailey's parents, Christopher and Amanda McMullen, along with her grandmother, Carol McMullen, filed multiple lawsuits against Wisdom Rides of America, Skelly's Amusements, and all their business associates. The lawsuit alleged that the manufacturers and operators knew about the risk of ejection for many years, but failed to implement proper safety measures such as mandatory seatbelts, which they claimed were necessary to prevent tragedies like Hailey's death. The result of the lawsuit has not been made public. Typically, in events like this, when no new public information is given, it's typically because the family reached a confidential private settlement. At the very least, I hope that is the case, but in the end, it won't bring Hailey back. As I said, Hailey was so young and so full of life. She loved her parents and her siblings more than anything, and she was wise beyond her years. I've covered plenty of stories similar to this one, where a tragedy could have been prevented if the proper safety precautions were put into place. In the end, it's hard to point blame on one party. Skelly's was operating the ride legally, the manufacturer recommended seatbelts and even offered to provide them for free. For me, the biggest issue is on a state level. When states like California and Florida made seatbelts mandatory, I question why other states didn't simply follow suit. Another sad note is that following Hailey's death, the Deerfield Township Harvest Festival was canceled the following year, and as of my research, there are no plans to bring the festival back as of this time. If I do receive any kind of update on Hailey's case, I will be sure to share it with all of you in my community feed. In closing, I want to send my deepest condolences to all of Hailey McMullen's family and friends. Thank you all for watching. This is not an AI channel. I do all the work here myself, and I would love if you subscribed, hit the like button, and left a comment down below. Also, I want to send a big thank you to my Cellar Dweller channel members. Your support is immensely appreciated, and with that said, please consider checking out another one of my many videos, and I will see you all next time when we head back into the cellar.